For our final discussion, we're getting a behind-the-scenes look at the opening of the Academy Museum through the lens of 3 Asian American women on the Academy's Board of Governors, and how the museum's inclusive view of film is part of a greater shift in the Academy's governance and efforts towards diversity. Here to introduce our panelists and to moderate the conversation is Variety's Heidi Chung.
Hello, everyone. I don't know about you all, but I have goosebumps from that video, and I'm not gonna lie, I had to hold back some tears. I'm just so proud of our community, so proud of the Asian American women who have really blazed this path forward for people like us. Everyone who's just at home watching these movies, we have these talented, amazing Asian American women on the Board of Governors at the Academy. And I'm so excited to introduce the lovely panelists of this final discussion. We're gonna be joined by Laura Kim, Jennifer Yuh Nelson, and Janet Yang, who we've seen all night today. So if they can join me on stage. I don't wanna waste any time, so I wanna get them up here so we can get our full time. Everyone, our panelists. So we're here and we're joined by 3 of the 4 Asian American women, the Board of Governors of the Academy. So this is such a great honor. Honestly, this is a rare behind the scenes look at what goes on right behind closed doors at the Academy. So let's kick things off here. Janet, you mentioned in your opening remarks that we're in this amazing venue. And from my understanding, there was an inclusion committee that was involved in the planning of this. So can you break that down for us?
I sure can, but I just want to say something about the video too, because I also was tearing up, and this is, I think, the 3rd year we've had this, and what's been amazing is that we've been able to add so many more women, Asian women, to the tribute video. Anyway, it's very touching. The Museum Inclusion Advisory Committee was started by Bill Kramer, this spectacular director and president of this museum, and he was truly, truly open to hearing ideas about how to look at the history of cinema through a more modern lens, because we all know that there's been strong biases in every aspect of our lives in various industries, but particularly in cinema, which is so public, and people really imbibe the sensibility that goes behind it, often without thinking too much about it. So we met quite regularly with Bill and his curators, and we just felt it was not only important to exhibit works from people of color and women, from people all over the world, and that's already been handsomely done, as you can see from this museum, but really to give it a perspective and to say, you know, a lot of things went on that would make us very, very uncomfortable today. And the way that Bill and his team were able to just spin a lot of our ideas into the actual exhibit so that it infuses really every aspect of the museum, I think, has been truly one of the most gratifying things, along with the change in the Academy itself and how this very august institution, which was quite traditional in many ways, has really transformed over these last several years. And I cannot be more grateful to the people who've championed this change.
So it was my first time here, and I don't know if you all had the tour, but the voices and I was beaming with pride when I went to the Bruce Lee exhibit, when I saw Spike Lee, just people of color being represented. So it truly is amazing work that has been being done here. I do want to shift our focus a little bit and talk more broadly about the Academy and the diversity and inclusion efforts that have been going on. I want to say more strongly over the past 5 years or so, we had that hashtag Oscars So White movement. So as insiders of the Academy, can you give us a bit of a glimpse of what it's been like inside, and do you think there's more work that needs to be done?
I think I've been a governor for about 6 years, and I was appointed in the very beginning as part of the first 3 diversity governors that were brought in order to help give a new voice to the Board of Governors. And I've got to say, it's been an amazing transformation because the will was there, but perhaps the voices weren't there before. And now you have, right in front of you, you have 4 amazing female governors of Asian descent on the Governor's Committee, and on the Governor's Board, and that has never happened before. And as I said, the will was there. Everybody wanted this to happen. And there's been so much change in the last few years that when I look around at the Board of Governors, it's this amazing array of just diversity of voices, of faces, of backgrounds, of genders and ethnicities. And it's really it has been a transformation.
I want to just say, when I was appointed 3 years ago, the first call I made was to Jen. I said, Jen, what am I getting myself into? What's it really going to be like? And she was very comforting and said it's definitely in transition. And again, we've seen just such gratifying change. And Laura, the fourth person who's not here, unfortunately, she's working on the East Coast, is Jean Chan in the documentary division. Laura's in the PR and marketing. And they were voted in by their branch members.
That's right. I'm new to the Board of Governors, and so I'm going to sit back and let them talk more about their experiences. But I will say that it's been really incredible to see all of the change that the Academy has instilled over the past 5 or 6 years. But I think what's really my takeaway is my hope that everybody sort of takes that and applies that to their own professional lives outside of the Academy, because I think the Academy is making such huge strides to really recognize deserving people in the crafts all around the world and be inclusive. But I think that we have to do our share and really do everything we can to elevate, hire, and promote, people of color in the workplace.
And I'm also curious just to learn more about your journeys in this industry, trailblazers in Hollywood. Laura, you're also a senior vice president of marketing at Participant Media, so that's also a unique perspective. What was your journey like to get to where you are now? Can you give us some insight into that path?
I was pre-med.
Really?
And I just knew I was not able to, I couldn't do it, and I wasn't smart enough, or I didn't want it. And so I really didn't know what to do, and so I was undeclared and just decided when I was in college that I wanted to be involved with representation in the media. And so I sort of nosed around, and I started interning and worked at Warner Brothers and Disney in my youth, and just grew from there, but found a home in what I do, really working on independent films and specialty films, documentaries, and international films.
And Jennifer, legendary storyteller.
I've actually, I'm an artist. I've been an artist my whole life. And being from an Asian family, I was wondering, because my sisters were artists before me, I was wondering if I should have been like a biologist or something. But I decided, I had to be an artist. I just couldn't think of doing anything else. And so I went to school as an illustrator. And my sisters were both in animation. And so I started out, and I didn't see that many women Asian storyboard artists. There just weren't that many. But it's just something I wished that I could do, and so I couldn't stop myself. And I had so many great mentors that helped me along the way. People just gave me that little chance so that I could actually try and move forward into different jobs and different positions. And somehow or other, because of amazing, talented women director, Melissa Cobb, who was in charge of animation over at Netflix, at the time she was at DreamWorks, she said, "You're gonna be a director. You have to be a director." And she gave me a big boot and said, "You're gonna do it." And I'm like, "No." And she said, "You're gonna do it anyway." And so I ended up becoming a feature director. So I really put it towards all these amazing women and mentors who have helped me along the way.
And Janet, I think everyone here can agree, you might be one of the busiest people I've ever met. You wear so many different hats. How do you juggle everything? What would you say to the younger Asian American women growing up right now and they see your path?
I would say the world is changing very rapidly, and it's very uncertain what the future is going to look like. And I think I've always followed my instincts. I really didn't plan. I mean, I decided to live in China after college because I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was just drawn to understand the culture of my parents. And then I discovered Chinese cinema because growing up on Long Island, I never saw people that looked like me on screen. And then I was like, I'm going to take these films out, and then I'm going to work for the studios. And then I ended up working on a movie set with Steven Spielberg. None of it was planned, nor was it even imaginable at the time. Like, there was no way I could think about that as a plan, nor could I even imagine that I would be a governor of the Academy of Motion Pictures, for instance, or sitting here with two other lovely governors who happen to also be one of Asian descent. All of it was just like, okay, I guess this is what's happening. So I think the way the world is now, we have to be very clear about our intentions. I've always had the mission, why did I want to bring Chinese cinema out? So that people could see people who look like me, in a more three-dimensional light. And really, the mission has not changed at all through all these years, but the tactics have changed. And there's more talent to create our village of artists with and storytellers. And so, yeah, I think if you just clear about why are you put on this planet? And somebody said something really interesting is like, think less about your resume and more about your obituary, not to be too morbid, but like, what are they going to say about you, when you're gone? Like, what is the mark that you want to leave on the world?
So we're missing Jean tonight, but just to give this all context of how big a deal it is to have 4 Asian American women on the Board of Governors at the Academy, I want to read a statistic to you all that I read in a recent article. And as of 2020, so just about 1 year ago, Academy membership was still 84% white and 68% male. And the average age of an Academy member was 62 years old. And while the Academy's female members are much larger than in the past, they are drawn from Hollywood jobs that already have heavy female representation, such as costume design, casting directors, and marketing and PR professionals. But as of this year, we have 4 Asian members on the Board of Governors, and they all happen to be female. So if that's not encouraging, and if that doesn't make an impact, I really don't know what will. I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but I do. I know no one has a crystal ball, but if you had to look out into the future, 5 to 10 years, what would the Academy and more broadly Hollywood look like in your eyes?
Well, I feel like there's definitely a shift into the global and the single platform sort of release, and I think that the sooner the business realizes that's something like 60% of the world is Asian, entertainment should be reflective of that, and I feel like I think we're going to start seeing it very rapidly, and it's just business 101 to me.
I think that we're seeing a major sea change in how things are made and who is making it, because the audience is there, the audience is international, and so everyone is scrambling, trying to find these filmmakers who have a different voice. So everyone that I know, I see so many amazing, young, talented filmmakers that look different from the usual, and they're getting work. And I think those are the next generation of filmmakers, and they're going to make the next hits that everyone's going to be growing up with. So I think that it's incremental, but right now we're at this tipping point where we're going to see some major change.
I agree with everything that Laura and Jen just said. We're definitely pivoting, and I think there are a number of other factors worth mentioning. One is just the data is so much more sophisticated, and it's just undeniable now that diversity sells. Like, who's going to be that dumb to not do it? Asian population is growing fastest in this country. The Latino population is also is growing rapidly, and we go to movies and we love watching things, so that's been established. Social media's help, and also the platforms really have contributed to a different way of distribution that favors diverse voices, because they're looking at the whole world. So they don't care if it's a pair of eyeballs in Korea or Argentina or wherever, it all matters to them. The old system where you had to gather as many people as possible at the same time, at the same place, in movie theaters, was difficult. So they play to the lowest common denominator just to get the numbers. And so I think it's really profoundly affecting the content that's being made today.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you guys are all very, very busy, but so much important work being done in the Academy, and I hope everyone took away as much as I did from today's conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi.
We'll chat soon.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.